Hey folks, it's Dustin DePirac coming to you live here from the barn. After writing my story, I snuck up here actually onto the, press row next to the court, which was a lot closer than I was watching the game. I was up there in the balcony, but I'm right here on the floor. Check it out, right there. Uh, so I guess the rest of the media just kind of sits here and sort of looks up at everybody, which has got to be kind of strange. This is definitely a different, very weird place to play. I got to say I've never seen anything like it. But that was not the reason at all that Indiana lost. This had nothing to do with atmosphere or the different angles of playing in a gym with a raised court. Basically, Minnesota just really, really, really shot the ball well tonight. Um, 55.4% from the field, I believe, was the final. 9 for 20 for 3, 7 for 11 in the first half, made 6 of their first 7 threes, their first 5. And that basically made it a rout before this one even started. Minnesota was up by 11, I think, with 11:04 left. From that point on, it was never under double digits. And it was never really close. So basically, I guess the question kind of was, okay, whose fault is this then? Is this more on Minnesota for just hitting really good shots, or is this on Indiana because they didn't defend it well? And Tom Crean kind of said, and it seems pretty obvious that it was sort of both. I mean, obviously there was a few wide open 3-pointers that Minnesota got in the first half that were a little bit inexcusable, but there were also a couple that were well defended that had guys had hands in Minnesota players' faces. It didn't really matter. Lawrence Westbrook hit 4 threes, some of them just cold-blooded. At one point, I think he hit one over a double team, and he was just knocking them down. And I scored 20 points, 6 for 9 shooting. Damian Johnson also had a great night. Hit a couple. He was 2 for 4 from 3. It's not. I don't know if he's usually that good of an outside shooter, but he hit some big ones tonight as well. And when they couldn't get to them, they pounded it down inside of Ralph Sampson III, who had 11 points and 8 rebounds. So offensively, Minnesota was kicking. All 11 guys they put in scored. Even Brian Allen, the punt returner, who joined the team a little under a month ago, and had not yet scored a basket as a Minnesota basketball player, was a punt returner on the football team, and had played I think 3 games, hit a 3 on the Hoosiers. So more or less everything was going right for Minnesota. Meanwhile, Indiana really couldn't do much of anything. It's a big problem, obviously, when your number 1 and 2 scorers by a long shot go a combined 3 for 20. That was for Del Jones and Christian Watt for shooting line tonight. Culmination of 13 points, so not exactly what those guys wanted. Watford was particularly rough, 1 for 12. Season low 3 points. He said, a lot of it had to do with Minnesota. Obviously, they blocked 7 shots. They go for statistics. You have, a couple guys, real long-armed guys. Damian Johnson, 6'7". He's not a huge guy, but he can get up, and he's one of the leading shot blockers in the league. Ralph Sampson III is 6'11". He obviously makes it very difficult. Those guys combined for 5 blocks and made it really difficult for anybody to get anything done inside when they were trying to dribble drive. But Watford said, a lot of it was just me. I just didn't have a good shooting night, 1 for 12. So yeah, he's got to take some of that on himself. Devin Dumas did the best he could, scored 20 points, and took the type of shots that Devin likes to take. I went 6 for 17 from the field, hit 4 of 9 3-pointers, but they needed somebody to do it. Basically, they needed somebody to get a spark and to make a run at, and Dumas was happy to give it a shot, and did some things. I mean, he took the occasional Devin Dumas heat check, but hit one from about 25, 26 feet, so wasn't as crazy as usual, and sort of kept it within at least remote respectability. But it doesn't really matter when you don't get anything from Jones and Watford. 10 points from Jeremiah Rivers. That was the only guy who had contributed much else scoring wise. So it was a rough one. As Cream pointed out, the energy was at least better. It was still not as bad as it was against Ohio State and Wisconsin, but of course not necessarily acceptable. Obviously there's a lot of things that need to be improved by this game. It's significant drop-off when you lose by over 20 points to a team that you beat earlier in the year. So it doesn't exactly go as a step in the right direction necessarily for Indiana, but more so it's a big step for a Minnesota team that's starting to come along. Looks a lot better than they did in January, especially after beating Wisconsin. All of a sudden this is looking like an NCAA tournament team. Like they might have a shot at least of taking a run at that, at least getting in the NIT and making some noise there. So I guess that's pretty much it, more or less. 81-58, not a whole lot to say. Well, we'll be back kicking this week. IU has off until Thursday. They play a really, really, really late one against Wisconsin. We're not looking forward to that one for deadline purposes, but we'll have coverage all week. Try to get some info on some recruits here. Moses Abraham's name all of a sudden, try to find out what exactly the situation is with him, and find out some other things going on. We'll have a lot of week. Wisconsin on Thursday, then we go to Iowa next Sunday. So stay with us. Thanks for watching.